Hello Internet! Today I'm going to be showing you how to move a website from one domain name to another. This is also going to be across hosts to be more coverage specific, to cover more territory. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move the files from your host that you currently have to the host that you're moving to. That is if you are going to be moving from host to host, and you don't have to move from host to host. This example is just more broad if we move from host to host. So in this case I'm moving from localhost to example.com for the domain name change. Now it might seem like all you have to do is just move the files over and everything works, but that's not quite the case. WordPress is two parts: the files for your web server and a database for all the configurations, such as the various text you have on your website, where your logos are, your currently chosen theme, your widgets, etc. All of this stuff here is stored in the database, not in the files. So we're going to need to move the database also. While the files are transferring, something else you will need to do is, since it currently is WordPress also stores where your site is currently set up. So in my case, my site is currently set up to localhost. So if I moved it to example.com, it might not even do anything. It might automatically redirect to some website, whatever that website might be, the default for that host. So I'm going to need to change the domain name or registered URL or whatever you want to call it that WordPress currently has set up to a different one. What I do is I actually use no, actually I don't. I almost used PHP. We'll be using PHP MyAdmin in just a second. I actually use a program called Interconnect search and replace for WordPress databases. This has a deserialization thing, which means it can dig deeper into the database and change out more information. So I have the database search and replace already set up on my hosts already. So you'll see there's a folder called replace that I made next to the main WordPress files. So if we go to localhost/replace, you will see that the search and replace tool is already set up. And of course, since this is an example website, you'll never be able to access it because I'm going to delete it afterwards. But it also automatically pulls the password and username data from the wp config.php file. So if you want to make sure everything is set up properly, just click the Update Details button. It'll check your database name, your username, and your password against the local host at this port that is specified. And if all the buttons are lit up properly, that means it's ready to go. If it's not set up properly, then you'll see that it's all grayed out. But since it is set up properly, we can replace localhost with example.com. So this will search the entire WordPress database and replace all instances of localhost with example.com. So if you want to see how it looks before you actually run it on your website, you can double check it down here and see what it looks like. You can see all the changes. So in this case, you'll see that some options are being changed to example.com from localhost. Okay, so now that we've explored a little bit of the cells changed options, let's run it live so that it is ready to go. I'm going to close this out just in case it has some sort of file lock, or database lock, which it shouldn't, but just in case. So now I'm going to run it live and confirm it. It gives you 5 seconds to stop it just in case you click it before you're ready. And it should be done in just a second, and there we go. Now the database has been configured to run off of example.com rather than localhost. So now that we have that done, the next step is to actually get the database into a file that we can use. In this case, I'm going to be using phpMyAdmin, and you can ignore the thing that says save changes. It's already saved whenever you push the live run button. So I use phpMyAdmin to administer all of my MySQL databases. So to export it, you just click on the database on the left, and there's an export tab at the top. Then all you have to do to export it is just push the go button, and there you go. You have a copy of the database in an SQL file. Now, since I ran this on the actual the search and replace tool on the actual live database, I don't have to go in and make a copy database, upload it and stuff. That is not a best practice, and as a best practice you'd want to create a new database, call it temp or whatever, temp edits, so you'd be editing your values or something, whatever you want to call it, and you create a temporary database, and then you import the database that you want to edit into that, so that you still have a copy of the old database just in case something goes wrong whenever you search and replace. So that would be best practice rather than editing the database straight up, because normally there is no backups by default for MySQL. So if you edit it, there's no going back unless you explicitly have it back up, which is not the default. So I highly recommend making a new database and importing the database that you want to edit into it. So in this case it would be example WordPress, then you push the go button, it uploads it and it populates it, and it would look something like this. So I just decided to skip this since this is just an example website. I didn't need any redundancy or anything, so I edited it live, which is a bad practice. Never do that. And then we go to export and push go, and we've got our SQL file right here. Now we're going to need to put it onto the new host's system. So in this case that'd be example.com. But that's not quite where we're going to go. We're going to need to go to the hosting control panel and create a new database. So we're going to want a MySQL database, and you'll notice that some hosts prefix your databases. So in this case, this host does prefix the database. So I actually don't need to do example underscore WordPress. I'm just going to type in WordPress, and there we go. We got Elliot underscore WordPress. And Elliot underscore WordPress, or the abbreviation for WordPress, is my username. Make sure you have all your settings correct, UTF-8, and then the password, and just generate something. I'm going to copy that for future reference. So we're going to add this in now, and there we go. We've got a database that we're going to need to populate with the newly created example underscore WP SQL file. So I'm going to go into my phpMyAdmin on the hosting server and log in with the database username you just created and the database password, and let's get this thing uploaded. So import. So here's Elliot WordPress, the database we just created. We're going to go to import and then select that database we exported from your other environment and upload it. Okay, so we got the database imported, and everything looks good so far. Now let's make sure that the files are in place. Okay, the files are in place. I uploaded them while I was working on the database stuff. So now it's all uploaded inside the public HTML folder, or whatever your hosting environment's HTML or www, whatever it is. So in this case, the web hosting folder on this host is public underscore HTML. I've developed a method to allow minimal downtime whenever you upload and download WordPress installations. I make a new folder called new, and then upload the entire WordPress installation into that, so that I don't have to wait for the upload to finish and have the current website have a lot of downtimes. So now that it's all uploaded into the new folder, I can easily just move the index and robots.txt file out of that folder into the old folder, just in case you don't like the results of the WordPress installation. Say you messed up on something. At least you'll have a backup of the old website in the old folder you can easily revert to if your WordPress installation is not working. So let's refresh example.com, and whoops, we've got a database connection error. Now remember, we're using a different host, so you got to make sure that you have all your WP config stuff set up properly. In this case, I don't have the password, the user, or the database name correct. So I'm going to need to copy the username, which is Elliot_WP, paste it in over here, and also make sure I have the database name correct. Copy that and just going to paste that in over here. And it's set to localhost, the database stuff. You can pretty much leave everything below this line here because you won't need to touch any of that. So now that we've got that all squared away, we should be able to upload the new settings. And if we refresh the page over here, voila! We have now transferred WordPress to a new domain name. So now that could be anything from example.com to your club's cool domain name .club or whatever. This works as long as you follow the instructions properly, and you'll be good to go. Well, that wraps up my first tutorial on computer technology. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. Otherwise, I will see you guys around.